So I'm really excited to introduce our next set of speakers. And we're doing something a little bit different where we're actually going to have two co-founders present together. So they also have 3 fun facts. So Jess and Emily are the co-founders of Shine Influencers and Shine PR. And they met 5 years ago through a wedding planner, and they started working together that very day, and they haven't stopped since. They once got matching sunshine tattoos on a business trip, but Jess's rubbed off 2 weeks later. And they still have the scratch notes they jotted down after one too many drinks, which became the basis for Shine Influencers today. Come on up and share your fuck-ups.
Hi guys, I'm Emily.
And I'm Jess.
Nice to meet you. We're really excited to be here. This is Jess and Em back in 2015, all like full of fire and ready to go. As Marcia said, we met through a wedding planner and started working together that day. Both Jess and I were in like a bit of a crossroads of our life.
I had moved fairly recently, about 4 months before I met Emily, to Canada from Melbourne. I was jobless, friendless. I had no prospects, really at all.
And I had recently decided to leave my marriage, so we were both in a position that we needed to do something quite grand together, and we bonded together very much like over that. The PR industry back in 2015 had also taken like a pretty significant shift.
Yeah, there was a pretty major change going on in terms of traditional media bleeding over into new media, so digital blogs, YouTube, all of these online publications. And we certainly saw an opportunity to jump on the back of that.
So there's a lot of publications that were like shutting down, a lot of magazines that existed, a lot of, there used to be an editor in every single market for the newspapers, and all of a sudden it was being called down to one. A lot of things are being shifted to sponsored content, as we're seeing even more so today. So PR agencies were leaning now more towards bloggers and journalists, and there's this like really interesting space to play in. So Jess, being from Australia, she had seen a model of an agency who actually like represented bloggers, social influencers, almost like an actor's agent or a modeling agent to negotiate like their branded deals. And nobody's really doing it here.
Yeah, no one was doing that here, and it was just at a time where we were right on the cusp of bloggers and, again, Instagrammers, YouTube, starting to get some credibility in the space. So typically they were kind of like the D, E, F list in terms of,
media previews and stuff like that.
Whereas now, with every fashion week around the world, you're seeing front row, they're bloggers and Instagrammers. So that we were kind of like right on the cusp of that happening.
So we decided to do this, and we thought, okay, we'll launch Shine Influencers because we had Shine PR originally. And we're like, well, maybe this will be something that becomes just like this big asset for our PR business, and maybe it will cover like one person's salary. But it completely exploded after that. So we started with about 20 talent.
20 talent, all Canadian-based, which was so fun. So we brought on people who had literally never had a paid deal. So they'd never had a brand pay them to promote their product.
They had brands giving them like gifts, but you can't like survive off of gifts.
Yeah,
so.
You can't pay your rent in clothes, unfortunately. So we came in and said to them, like, we see your value. And they kind of took that and was like, finally, like someone sees that. So yeah, we watched them as they all kind of shifted over and were able to quit their like 9-to-5 jobs. Like there were accountants and pharmacists and okay, I can't even remember what their original jobs were, but it was fun.
Time because we were taking jobs that would only be gifting to like zero budgets, and then $100 budgets, $200 budgets, $800 budgets, and slowly start hearing along the way about like our talent saying like I'm gonna take a leap, I'm gonna quit my day job, like I'm gonna do this, like you guys like are supporting me, like this is growing, like it was really exciting to be growing with the talent, like with the industry, and then also with our team. So this is like a couple years ago, and it was such an exciting time, and we were hosting these events as well as we still do, just to keep our name out there and to meet some of the brands and agencies that we work with, and things were doing great. We even tried like a trial expansion at that time into the US.
Good. We're like, we can take this across the border. We've got this.
We got this.
It majorly fucked up.
Yeah.
A boring fuck up that's not even worth talking about.
We don't have time for that fuck up.
But
the growth like certainly caught up to us. So this is a time that we were like billing over $1 million in deals. When we were looking at our projections, like the girls were like exceeding our projections, like the talent are quitting their jobs because there's so much coming in. Like things were like, they're good.
Our accounting software looks good. We're like, we are making money. We got this.
We got this, but like there's
And
no
then-
fucking money in the bank. So something was going wrong there.
Every
Like
day we look at the bank, we're like, but it's here, like on paper, but it's not here, like in cash. What is happening?
Yeah, so it was a trying time because we wanted to be celebrating things and things were going really well, but there was no money in the bank, and every month we were going deeper and deeper and deeper into this line of credit, and we weren't quite sure what was going on. And I think that was like probably among the scariest times because it's one thing to kind of have a fuck up, but when you can't identify what's going on, it's even scarier. I love this picture. It like reminds me of my daughter. But we'll take it backwards a bit because that fuck up really started when we started the business. And we thought we would never fuck up on this because we're like, well, we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses. Strengths being that we're creative, we're strategists, we're marketers, we're networkers. And then in terms of weaknesses,
Accounting. We don't know it. We don't want to know it. We're not interested. It's not where our skill set was. So like, we'll outsource it. This is perfect.
You outsource things.
We will interview people. We will get referrals. We'll get recommendations. We did like every bit of due diligence we thought we could. We're like, we are so clever.
We're so clever.
Amazing.
Clever, but it caught up to us. So we ended up outsourcing our accounting and bookkeeping to people who were absolutely recommended within the industry, had worked with another firm for 15 years. Around this time of billing versus the bank account, we found out that our bookkeeper had stopped sending out our invoices for like several months. So we were getting paid because nobody knew they had to pay us. Big
It
fuck
works like
up.
that. Yeah.
We scrambled. We, again, got referrals, got people in, got referrals. Okay, like we'll sort this out. We got somebody in who was highly referred from a business networking group.
Got another one, same kind of thing. She held us hostage with our QuickBooks, lost us out. We're like,
She
locked
locked
us
us out of our QuickBooks account. She ran up a huge bill and then locked us out of our QuickBooks
And she's
account.
like, I'll give you access.
Give me the money.
Just pay this. And we're like, oh, you didn't do all that work. Like, and so like that kind of like naiveness of being so new and not really like getting that whole world, it majorly hit us.
The other one is that we had this, referred accountant at that time, but we talked to twice like a year. He had also ran up like an astronomical bill. His firm got purchased by a larger company, and we didn't know that they were outsourcing a lot of their like day-to-day work to India, and a lot of challenges happened during that time. He also just
he wouldn't. I was trying to get permanent residency at the time, and he wouldn't sign off on any of the documents. So I almost got deported because he just wouldn't sign off. I'm like, please help! Like this is ridiculous.
It was a trying time, but we learned the hard way that whether you're outsourcing or not, like you still have to be the expert in your business. No matter what, like you have to know everything first, the best, and then you can outsource it.
I think like at the very least, just understanding that you need to know the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
Because whilst we'll never be CAs, it's not our forte at all, but we keep learning over time the better questions to ask, and that you need to ask questions and you need to push the people you're outsourcing to or the people you're hiring, because it just we keep having this problem over and over again. It's maybe it's us. I don't know. But yes, it's a problem we just kept facing. So along the way, we just learned like, okay, if we ask them this, we ask that, and we kind of.
And we made some changes. So we end up having bringing in a full-time bookkeeper like in-house, opposed to outsourcing it, because it should be within our complete control. We also have like a part-time AR person. We've gone through 4 different accounting firms because we've been trying to find the right match like for our growth and size. And they operate very much of like an extension of our team. They're not people that we talk to twice a year. We talk to them constantly. So we had to invest in that. We had to make the change, and we cleaned things up because of it. But bookkeeping wasn't our only issue, why there was no money in the bank account and the billings were high. And it gets into a bit more of a sensitive one for us. Like we didn't know if we were going to talk about this.
Yeah, this is something we're like, do we go into this? Like it makes us a little sad.
It's like one of us going to cry.
Pretty brutal burns.
Yeah.
But it's culture was something that from day one it was so important to us. And we'd both worked at agencies in PR, and the culture there can be pretty brutal. I'm not sure if many of you have experienced that, but it's tough. And PR agencies are typically run by I'll say strong women.
Some tough women. Some tough
Yeah,
women.
yeah. So we were kind of like, that's not us. Like, we want to operate a business that is very kindness first, and we want our team to feel like family and friends, and
And part of the growth. Part of the
we
growth.
wanted them to be excited by the growth.
So when we set it up, when we had team members and we were billing more and bringing in more talent managers to manage the talent, we were also still like a startup business. We were in our early years, and we thought, okay, well, we have to be mindful of our cash flow. So like, why don't we set it up so the team members will have a like lower base, but they'll have a really high commission. They'll have a really high kind of risk reward, so that they can feel part of it. That if they're working really hard, like they're seeing the financial benefit. And if they're working really hard, that means like their talent is doing well, so the talent will really be happy. And if all those things combined happen, that means the company will be doing well. So we're so smart. Like we got this.
Yeah, and as I said, we both worked in agencies where you'd work really hard to sign a new client, and everyone would be like, yeah, like we got this client, that's amazing. But for the employee, it was always like, this is just more work for me. Like, I'm not rewarded really in any way for it. So we're like, okay.
Trying to do something different, trying to do something with the intention of good. But it was a big fuck up on a number of different reasons. So firstly, I don't think that we ever could have imagined the industry growing as quickly as it did. So we created a commission structure that actually wasn't financially sustainable in the pattern that we had mapped it out when the billings got bigger. So that was a tricky one, and that one snuck up on us like really quickly.
And I think the other thing was that we set up that model with an entrepreneurial mindset, and we were hiring employees. So they weren't interested in being motivated by like the growth of the company and are excited about that.
Well, the high risk reward. Like I think
Yeah.
in the employee mindset, it's very different than an entrepreneur's mindset. So Jess and I, when we were looking at this commission structure, like, it was really exciting for us. Like this would motivate us. But for employees, like they would much prefer like the consistency. They want to be validated for their hard work,
stability.
They want to be able to count on us that we can do that, and we take accountability for that because we didn't see it at the time. And then the other thing that really made this difficult, and also kind of goes back into that billings versus a bank account, is because that we chose to pay them a lower base for cash flow. It also meant that we had to pay them commission monthly. It wouldn't have been fair to not pay them commission monthly. But paying them commission monthly meant that we were paying them commission on deals that we had not gotten paid for yet.
So at the end of March, for example, we'd pay them out the commission on everything they billed for March. When a few of those deals would fall through, maybe the client didn't pay for 6 months, so we were, fronting all of the money, and then, inevitably, if a deal got cancelled, we're like, you didn't really earn that commission, then
it's like take it back, and then it really was against what we were trying to build. So it was a really tough one to swallow because, as we had said, the industry had grown, the company had grown. It was a really exciting time, and we had thought that we had set it up in a way that everybody could celebrate and feel part of it together.
But I think what happened with employees is they didn't see what their total package was as well as we did. So we're like, oh, these girls, they're making a lot of money. This is fantastic. Whereas if someone has, say, a $40,000 base salary and they're earning $40,000 in commission, we're like, this feels good. Like, we feel pretty good about this. But we realize now they only ever saw it as $40,000. So no matter how much the commission was, they just never, ever saw it. And
so they felt undervalued. They felt underpaid, which is killed us. And they left.
All earned more than us, the whole time.
And a number of them left. And it was a really sad time for Jess and I. We had started this company, as I said, at a time that was quite a crossroads for both of us, and we were so proud to have a culture where our team members they felt like family. I mean, I bring my children into the office, that we were friends with them, and we wanted to build something with them. We wanted to be like this girl power team and build something all together. And they left, and it really had us question, okay, do we need to change how we operate? Do we need to change how we lead, how we are with our team, the transparency? I mean, we had gotten so many different kinds of advice over the years.
I think every person that I know I spoke to about it, and Em and I spoke to, they just said, 1, you're too nice, and 2, they just you're just being too good to them. How is it? How are you doing this? and you should not take it personally. And we're like,
but it is personal.
it's personal.
So personal.
It's ours, and we started this with like a family mentality at the back of our mind, at the forefront of our minds, really. And we brought in people who I can say genuinely we had love for. Like we loved like family, and it's brutal. Like that was a tough one for us, as we talked about this at length. But anyone that was around us at that time like caught the brunt of our tears about
There's
it.
like a lot of tears. I cry often. Jess never cries. So if Jess cries, we're like, oh God, this is
something is going
bad.
wrong.
But we made the decision that no, this is who we are. We will take accountability. We will learn from it. We will make some adjustments. But who we want to be in terms of leaders, the kind of company that we want to grow, like it's still the same as the day that we started. So we kind of forged on. Shining lesson learned definitely is that you need to structure your company, financial and all things, like for the future opposed to the now, and understand that there's a difference between our needs and values and also your team members, and like neither of them are wrong. They're just different. So you have to see things through both lenses.
Yeah, I think one of our very dear friends, Leslie Scott, had said to us very early on in the business, she said, plan for your business 3 years from now. So I think our biggest fuck up was we didn't like listen to that properly.
Sorry, Leslie.
we listen to everything Leslie says now.
But we've learned some stuff. So these are like our cutie pies, like over in LA. We opened up an LA office just over a year ago, and it's absolutely thriving, and we were so proud. We also made decisions, not to hire like contractors down there. Like we went full into employees, which is difficult as a business.
And to hire a team. So like the previously mentioned Fuck Up in Texas, we had one person down there. So with this, we wanted them to feel like a team and to have the support of one another. So I think that was pretty crucial for it.
Yeah. Our amazing Toronto team has grown and is solid and stable, which we're incredibly proud of. We made lots of adjustments in terms of the commission structures and different of like that cash flow patterning that we talked about. We opened up an office in Montreal this past January to have a French-speaking division.
Yeah, we're so excited about that one. We wanted to really like service all of Canada, so we hired one of our dear friend Cynthia to run the office out there, so that's been a fun one.
But we also like changed our mindset in terms of how we were communicating to our team members and like what is of value to them. So certain things that we do now is that we offer them like a sales and development coach who is here tonight, Tony Abramson. There she is. Instead of just kind of passively giving them like guidance and advice, like we set up monthly meetings with each of our team members because we want them to feel value being part of our team and knowing that like we want to help them personally grow, so we invest that time in them.
Yeah, not just that we want them to perform well for us, but we want them to be healthy and happy and fulfilled, and we want to like help them do things that they want to do outside of work too.
And then yes, like definitely a drastically different like commission structure and payout structure that allows us to be fully responsible and accountable for the 11 team members that we have. And then like we go back to like the one like non-fuck up that we've ever had. And we've had lots of others like along the way. But this is Jess and I at like one of our like first photo shoots, and that's Jess and I just like a couple weeks ago at another one of our Shine events. And we have absolutely never fucked up on choosing each other. And trust me, from the last speaker, we have heard so many stories about other partnerships who have come and gone and why they aren't right matches. And we have such high respect for why this one is this.
Yeah,
Don't cry, Jess. Don't do
we hear about them all the time, and people say, oh, I had this partnership with someone, it was a disaster, this happened, that happened, and we kind of always like sat idly by being like, ours is pretty good. Like, we feel good about this. So it was, I think, from as Marsha mentioned, it's something that, this was from day one that when Em and I met, we decided to work together in a very passive way then and started Shine not long after. So it's certainly been like the one consistent, and it's, through all of the fuck ups, it's been like the stability there for sure.
So we're very proud to be like two female leaders. I'm certainly proud to be like an example of that and what it is like when women like come together and rise each other up. And thank you for having us tonight, because like I think our company, especially like we are people from PR, but like we know how to be like loud and share our successes, and we have like this shiny bright company. But I don't think that people realize sometimes like some of the different ups and downs that we've had, and like there have been some very, very tough ones along the way. So we really appreciate the experience to share what we did with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think that was so powerful, and just the way that you guys shared it together, you can just tell, like, just even the way that you two speak together, it just really speaks to how strong your partnership is. And again, I mean, so many of the stories that we hear at Fuckup Nights are because of some kind of accounting and cash flow issues. You guys are definitely not alone at that. Make sure that you guys chat to the Zero team. They can help you out. Little plug there. But yeah, let's open it up to Q&A. I'm sure you guys will have some great questions.
Hey there, I'm just over here, Tori. Thanks so much for speaking. I had a quick question. It sounds like you guys have had some really great luck with the people you've hired, both in LA and Toronto, just being really quality, genuine people. I'm wondering if you can shed some light on where you find those people.
Yeah, we've done a lot of different things. So the most recent hires, we've used a recruiter. But before that,
over time, I think like our process like have developed. So in terms of like actual like channels, we have we've advertised like on our social pages. We have a social following for Shine PR and Shine Influencers. So people who are following that, like they are already interested in the company. So I like that. We've used Indeed. Indeed can be like a really good, powerful tool. I like in terms of sorting through like a whole whackload of resumes. Indeed can be really helpful. I think in terms of like culling through those people, our process has gotten so much more extensive over the years. So we have interviews, we have, you know, a written test, because there's some things that come out by way of how they might answer an email that you don't get in an interview. We also have them meet with another team member who's been around for a while. So like Sam, who was one of our interns and left and then came back. She's a really good one to like do like a culture fit check.
An understanding of culture, but I will certainly say like this is a hard role to hire for, because it is a position that did not exist 5 years ago. So in terms of hiring, we look more for characteristics and qualities, as opposed to, you know, you had to go to PR school or something like that. So we're looking for people who are excellent problem solvers, can juggle, can handle multiple tasks at the one time, and things like that, but basically can come to us and be a solution provider.
So you said that one of the initial issues So you said one of the initial issues that you had was the outsourcing problem. So and you said that it's better to understand, or at least understand what questions you should have to ask. So as you scaled after that first fuck up, since then as you scaled, there were probably new aspects of the business in which you had to outsource. So how did you deal with that issue from the previous learnings?
Yeah, so we still absolutely outsource. So as Em said, we have a full-time bookkeeper and an accounts receivable person on our team internally, so they're with us in the office every day. But we still have an outsourced accounting team. It just doesn't make sense for us to have them full-time. So it's, I think, as I said, like we've just learned how to better ask the questions that we need for our business. So it's okay.
Yeah, and having more of a basic understanding of everything. So back in 2015, like I would not have been able to smoothly tell you like the flow through of our invoice and accounting system. Like I would not have been able to speak that through. Like we have invested so much time over the years in learning that so we can spot inefficiencies. So like I think when we outsource, we do it because we don't have the time to do it, but we still know what is the best thing to do. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Cool. You'll definitely get it after me, don't worry. Great presentation, Emily and Jess. I've got a comment followed by a question. So first of all, I'm also in the digital space. I run Tangu, and we have the same kind of issue of being in different cities and empowering what started off as staff to then become leaders. So I think the way you're crafting that to have staff I would assume become leaders in different cities is amazing, and we can talk more about that offline. But I think that's really like a super useful thing for scaling a business. My question is around the comment with growing with 3 years of kind of foresight. Like, where are you going to be in 3 years? Act like that today. Yeah. Easier said than done. I mean, whether you're a staff member who just got a job and day one you're like, hey, we're only going to be in 3 years, or you're starting a company. What's a bit of your process for that? Very high level, like what's the process to actually plan for that? But then more importantly, and probably a good segue to our next speaker, how do you reflect on that? How do you know if you're on the right path?
Well, I think we've done a ton of work in terms of business development. I'm thinking like Think 8 is what I'm thinking of like here. So like in our first year we met like a really wonderful pair of business consultants, and they do a Think 8 system. So in terms of Jess's and my like long-term vision and our core values, like where we want to take the business, we actually did that work. We invested in doing that work. So do we know the exact numbers of 3 years? No, I don't like at all. But I think because we have that basis, and when we have like employed it, then like we come up with ideas all the time that are 3-year away ideas now. Absolutely. So I would think.
Yeah, we're very much aligned on like what the path is, kind of which way that goes, for sure up for debate. But yeah, as Em said, I don't think it's numbers driven. Like we're not saying, okay, we're going to bill X dollars by X time. It's more just setting up the structure better for success. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep,
Yeah.
definitely. Just X in front here. Yeah. Hi.
So you both spoke of the success that you had as partners, which is unusual that you alluded to. What do you think has been some of the contributing factors to that? Were you friends before? Like,
No.
how did this
Yes.
happen?
I think it's because we weren't friends. Not that we were not friends. We're quite friendly now. But we met very randomly. Like as Marsha said, we met through a wedding planner, very random situation. But I think from the very beginning, we just kind of got each other. And as we talked about, we'd both gone through like a pretty significant life change. So we're like, we can kind of get through this if we do it together. And then that kind of just continued. And I think, with the previous question, like we were both always very aligned in terms of what we wanted to achieve and how we wanted to do it, more importantly. So with that, we're like, we know we want to operate with kindness. We know we want to have a team that feels like family. We know we have to have fun every day. So I think because we had those things like so firm and again, so aligned, it made it really easy to kind of just go, right? Yeah.
Hi, so I'm actually preparing to open a boutique fitness studio in Halifax in October, and I'm evaluating my cash flow pretty carefully right now to decide whether I can bring on a GM, because I'm a one-woman show and know kind of what I have ahead of me. If knowing what you guys have gone through over the last few years, is there an advantage to bringing on support like a full-time or even part-time, general manager to anticipate kind of growth for the future? I have a pretty aggressive plan to scale to multiple locations across Atlantic Canada. So knowing what you know now, is it better to invest in that talent and that support earlier on, take a hit to your margins now, as opposed to kind of figuring your shit out later on?
I would say absolutely yes. Every single person we've hired, we never had the money to hire them. But we were kind of like, we want to get all of this business. Who's going to fulfill it? And if we fulfill it, we can't do any new business development. So we were like, okay, we will hire, they will do this, and we're going to go out and keep growing the business. So I think that allowed us to not get stuck in the minutia of the everyday, and allowed us to like think higher level and be able to say like, okay, like these are the next strategic moves we want to make, and we trust that, we hope that this person has it relatively handled. I think it's just knowing that like you might hire a GM that's the wrong person, and then you have to like, you have to go back and start again, and that's such a hit, especially for a new business. But it's a tough one. But I would say, like, absolutely hire.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi. You spoke about two things. One was how the fuck up made you deal with it emotionally. And the other was you spoke about how typically PR agencies are run by tough women, and you didn't feel like you fit into that stereotypical personality. So my question to you would be that as women, we are usually expected to be a certain type of way to be leaders. How do you feel like the way you are and your personality kind of helps you deal with the day-to-day challenges, and what do you think you bring to the table?
I don't think it was too challenging for us, because it was kind of who we were, like, at our core. I think absolutely along the way, people mistook our kindness for weakness. Like from day one, you're too girly, don't be so shiny. We got that from everyone, particularly women. And we were like, no, this like, yeah, like this is who we are. Like we can't really, it's really hard to like, it would be so hard for us to be anything other than that.
And I would also say, I think for me, because it was two of us together, for me, it made it a lot more easier because like we together like set the tone for how the rest of the team operates. And yeah, like we are women, and there is like still like a different way that we operate. And I think it's been really amazing to kind of like find that line ourselves together, like as we grow and as our team has gotten bigger, to still keep on going back to being women, being feminine, being girly, but not necessarily that meaning that is weak. And I think it's something we're quite proud of as well. So yeah.
So we'll do one more, and yep.
I thought your presentation was awesome, like the passion and enthusiasm was really nice. And I think it's great that you actually spent some time investing in understanding your business financials. From your advice, small businesses don't always know where to start, whether it's with an accountant or a bookkeeper or online. So from your experience, where was your starting point for that to understand?
Our starting point to understand
Your business financials, like get visibility over...
I think like I kind of did it at the beginning, loosely. So I think we just kind of learned along the way. I don't know if there was like one particular, I mean, with all of the accountants, like that was...
I think like you just always seem to have like a bit more of like a natural like side like towards it. She likes math. And I think for me, when that happened, I like felt like the pressure of wanting to have a team who can trust us and trust our decisions. And I really felt like we had like fucked up. So where beforehand, I might have had a bit of like avoidance, like with some of the bookkeeping, because I just felt like it was a bit too complicated and messy and like all of that. And I wanted to focus on other things. I just stopped doing that. And I was like, I'm going to hear it. I'm going to learn it. I started asking more questions. We invested a ton of time of understanding it. So.
Yeah, I think it was just like we kind of had to, like you get super stressed at tax time. So like now you don't. So that's nice. Yeah. But yeah, it was just like, it was along the way kind of like figuring it out. And yeah, I don't think there was like one particular milestone event that happened that propelled us to do that. But yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
thank you so much.